Okay, so my project, the system that I researched was the Integumentary System, and this is basically like the skin. And your skin is basically the largest organ in your body. It does a lot for you. It's a natural protectant from a lot of things like bacteria and any injuries that can happen to your internal organs or just anything inside of your body. It's made up of a lot of layers, obviously. As you can see, there's at least like 3 or 4 layers at least in the skin. It prevents us from losing a lot of water. We feel a lot of senses with it, which is pretty cool. As you get older, the skin tends to wrinkle up a little bit, and it loses its elasticity. And when that happens, you also don't perspire as much as you age, which means you don't produce as much oil. So the sebaceous gland has a lot to do with that. That's where all your oil is coming in from, and it's going out of your pores into your skin. As you get older, you won't need to bathe as much because you don't perspire as much, and we'll get into that in a second. But as far as these parts go, your hair is obviously right here. Your capillaries are going to be right by your hair follicle, and then you have your sweat glands. This is where obviously sweat comes out of. Armpits, anywhere you sweat. Your subcutaneous tissue is right here. This is like a fatty tissue underneath your dermis, which is the middle part right here. You have your nerve and your nerve ending, which is right here. Your nerve ending is going to be the part that helps you recognize what you're feeling and the temperature of it, and if it hurts, if it doesn't, just how it feels in general, and it sends signals up to your brain to let you know what's going on. So then you have your epidermis right here. This is like one of the top layers compared to just like the outside. So yeah, and then a lot of what's interesting about this is like the amount of work that your skin does for you on a daily basis. It's really cool, just the way that it heals. So moving on to the diseases, there's like pressure injuries. Pressure injuries are basically skin related infections that occur when there's pressure on the skin and it's consistently there. At some point, the warmth and the moisture that's coming from the pressure in your body producing those oils is going to break down the skin, and it's going to make it more susceptible to having an infection, which leads to a pressure injury. This is most of what you're going to be dealing with as a nurse assistant, and there's 4 stages to a pressure injury, and one being the most mild, 4 being the worst. There's 2 different kinds of these pressure injuries. An unstageable pressure injury is going to be usually a stage 4, stage 3. Once it's determined, they call it unstageable because it's so difficult to tell. It's usually going to look, it'll usually be like there's so much excess slough that it's hard to tell what's going on in the body, like in that injury. So they have to clean it off and make sure that it's taken care of properly to see what kind of stage it is and what kind of care it needs. It's going to look like a very, very, very bad blister. It can get all the way down in each layer of your skin and probably farther, even into your muscles, which is pretty bad. You also have a deep tissue pressure injury. This is kind of similar, but it'll look more like a blister. Skin could be lost, but it could not as well. So you can have skin that doesn't it can look more like a blister than anything else. You're still gonna have a layer of skin, but there's more going on underneath. And as far as care goes, with these kinds of injuries, like I said earlier, you're gonna have to like take note of the fact that like older people don't perspire as much, which means they don't produce as much oil as younger people do. So this makes it like a little easier to bathe them. Like they don't need them every single day, baths or showers. They need it like twice a week. And of course they need their skin to be checked, obviously. They need lotions and the proper soap, and there's usually going to be a skincare plan for these kinds of residents that have these kinds of injuries. It's really important to make sure that you know what kind of soaps and stuff you're using on it. As an NA, it's all obviously essential to like report any differences or changes in the skin of the resident to make sure they know what's going on and what they need to do to take further steps. It's really good to take note that like massaging the outside layers, not the outside layers, but the outside areas of this injury will help increase circulation, and in turn it'll help the skin heal better. You have to make sure that you're light and you massage circularly, and you don't go too hard, and you have to avoid bony areas because in older people that's going to make it worse, because their skin is so sensitive. Like as you get older, like you lose elasticity, and it just gets easier for your skin to break. Your bedding has to be on point. It's a big factor in skin injuries. When it comes to skin, your bedding needs to be, like we talked about in class, needs to be like not super wrinkly, and you also can't have a lot of crumbs in it because that'll make the injury spread, because you're gonna have sores in different areas, and these sores can also get infected and have bacteria in them, and you're gonna have to use care on other parts of their body, and it's just gonna be much longer to heal from altogether. So